On March the 22nd, 1992, 3 members of the Surrey Earth Mysteries group travelled to Chiddingstone in Kent, once the home of the late Tony Wedd. Tony is best known for his connection of Alfred Watkins' ley system to the UFO alignments discovered by Aimé Michel in France, and through this to the idea of energy currents in the leys. He wasn't the first to put forward the energy idea, but he was the one through whom it became generally known.
The connection being, I think, that the flying saucers themselves either draw power from these marked points, it's a possibility, or they actually use them to navigate by, another possibility, or they use and navigate by some earth emanation, power, vibration, field, what have you, I don't know, that the landmarks themselves mark, and they mark them not necessarily for people flying, but for people on the earth who wanted healing. Most particularly, I think, healing. And I'm quoting from Adamski and Buck Nelson, who both said, flying saucers travel along magnetic currents. They don't drive along like your motorboats, launches do. They float along like a raft does. They take no power in doing so. They are, I'm sure, charged up, and Adamski himself agreed that they had a source of power on board, which was recharged when the little saucer came back to the mothership. But this power was limited, and could be used presumably in emergencies. And therefore, the theory I give to you tonight is that the flying saucers ordinarily travel along routes which are predetermined by magnetic currents on the Earth. When they're hopped by an aircraft, and want to get out of it quick, they presumably turn on full power. They need it. But ordinarily speaking, they're conserving that power by travelling along the leys.
Ty Cross, Tony Wedd's home in Kent. Here, Eileen picks up by dowsing a line passing through the spiral sycamore tree behind Tony's house, earlier identified as an energy centre.
There you go. Right through the corner.
Chiddingstone is a Tudor village owned by the National Trust. The 13th century church stands the other side of the village street.
I think it's just, I don't think it's anything particular, I think it's just the leaves. Very, it's how many rounds are left? How many? 4 trucks, really?
We've all just gone right round to look at this. Is it your answer? I stood to the spirit of the tree. Is it all right? And the rod went right round. Thank you. Look at the branches. The lane goes like that. And those twisting branches are going towards it. Don't it fall there? Now through that door where the line is going. This is the line of the lane, straight through. What's up there? There's a mechanical bit at the front.
Yeah,
could you work out how to operate it, please?
It's the cover.
There's serpents carved on the front. Look.
Serpents. Ah. I don't know how they invaded. Yes.
What's the date today? Isn't it secret? Here. And this is just going round. This is on a line with the one outside,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes.
This is where the one crosses this way and that way.
So what you've got? You've got the east-west line and the
And
north-south line.
I'd say there's probably a well. I bet there's a well under there.
Yes, could well.
Is there a crypt? Do they know a little bit?
I should think so. It looks as if
It's raised up a bit, isn't it? I reckon the altar used to be here, don't you think? I wonder whether it was.
Oh no, that's very likely, isn't it? Because
There's nothing there where the altar actually
when
was.
it was a Roman church,
Yeah.
it would have been differently arranged. You know, this is the
Right.
Protestant arrangement,
Okay.
and the altar might
True.
well have been here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's this row of stones. Who's buried here? The body of Mr. Richard Millis, the rector of Chiddingstone in Kent, 1705, age 65. Mrs. Millicent,
And
nurse,
his wife and
right?
daughter.
Well, they've got a nice place to be buried. They're right on the power line. They're wandering around somewhere, aren't they? No. Where was it? Did people worship here before the Romans? Yes. We're asking the wrong questions, aren't we? We'll have to think of something we want to know.
They had a little stove, a little gas stove.
From the original video, I plotted the points where Eileen had a dowsing reaction, then went through the tape again, video dowsing it. Taken together, these indicated a fairly wide band of energy going diagonally across the church, in addition to the north and east lines found by Eileen. This line would go through the cave, which we'll see in a few minutes. It goes through little else apparent on the map. It's paradoxically true that this area, which brought about the rebirth of leys in the public mind, is one of the worst areas for Watkinsian map apparent ley points. Its predominant marks are clumps, which mostly are not marked on maps. Video dowsing also revealed another diagonal line through the church in the other direction, passing through the beginning of the track leading to the Chiding Stone. This goes through Penshurst Church, a triangulation point in another direction, and some minor points. To consider the two lines Eileen found, the east-west line is a particularly good lay for this area. Going eastwards, it goes through Chiddingstone Castle, the centre of Tony's 12 healing lines, a long stretch of track in Park Wood, Hever Church, a spot mark at Lydon's Farm, a junction on a Roman road, a moat, Starborough Castle, and a piece of coincident track near Lingfield. Going eastwards, it skirts the southern edge of Tunbridge Castle. The north-south line goes through a number of ponds, including a large clump at Hobbs Hill, and one just south of Chiddingstone, with what appears to be some kind of earthwork round one edge. Our next destination was the Chiding Stone, an unusually shaped outcrop of local sandstone. Before reaching it, however, we come to another stone, a smaller one, with what seems to be a hole cut in the top, which Eileen surmised was for holy water or some other libation. When we visited this stone on the Doldrum field trip in 1989, it was covered in vegetation, and this important feature wasn't visible. And this is the Chiding Stone itself.
totally natural.
Look, it's like a skull. There's the eye sockets, and here's the nose, and there's the mouth going, ooh! It's a face, isn't it? Oh, yeah, it's a lovely stone. Tony has carved his name up here, I see.
Has he, Tony Wedd?
Well, it just says Tony Co. We think it was Tony Wedd all those years ago.
And Jim and Philip Hazelton with him, they were
Yes.
the co.
It's going right through the compass.
Yes, it's
Take
northeast, southwest, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
The line that I'm picking up goes.
Can you only
actually-
pick up one?
Well,
Yeah.
that's the only one I've picked up so far. I'll keep going, shall I? You can be IC compass.
Okay.
Where's the compass? Can we have the officer with the compass, please?
I think something is picking up.
Oh, really? Oh,
More or less, that's what that's your north.
Oh, there's
Just
your
seem
north.
to swing a bit
oh.
towards the way north. Yeah, is it the same thing?
It's the same thing. It's going right through it.
The copper with it.
But it's the same. It's going right through it.
Eileen picked up two lines passing through the Chiding Stone. The southwest one goes to the cave, where it meets the church diagonal line mentioned earlier. It then continues to Mark Beach Clump, an important feature in Tony's system, where a UFO was seen. The other, going northwest, goes through a point in a wood northwest of Chiddingstone and a named crossroads called Pigot's Cross. Going southeast, it goes through a large clump or small wood of conifers at Weller's Town, a deciduous clump with earthworking a little further on, a clump Philip Heselton found at Oakfield, and a spot mark at Saints Hill.
Now this connection between the flying saucer routes and the old ley lines of Alfred Wallace occurred to me when in 1960 I went to Mark Beach to see Mrs. Everest to investigate a sighting she'd made in the middle of the night. And her saucer seemed to be travelling roughly along this line I've given you. I also went to Keston, which is up here, which has a Keston Mark place name, and there are two sightings at Keston Mark and the one at Mark Beach, and suddenly it hit me. The word Mark rubbed my memory, and I wondered whether the flying saucers knew about the land marks. Now, here we have a very good row of them. We've just come down off the forest here to the River Medway. I'm going to show you that mark, that mark, that mark. That one is only an Ordnance Survey triangulation point on the map. It doesn't survive as a mark. And there's another one up here on the hills. There's a possibility of a milk farm here at Kentwater, certainly on the line. There's also a possibility of another mark there, which is not too clear, which I haven't marked here. So we may have 5, 6, 7 marks, very, very well aligned through over a distance about 9 miles. So whenever I say, what is a ley? I want to see one and check it for myself. I would say, well, try Lywood Common. You see the place name again, and it's shifted a bit now, part well, we call them Lye, and the villages go by the name of Lye. Lywood Common, Mark Beach, there's a nice little mark at Hever, at a farm called Kippin's Bank, and then up here onto Kent Hatch near Crockham Hill. Next beaches of Mark Beach, it's a mixed clump here, breaking the skyline. Next please. You go down to Moat Farm where there's a single Scots pine. It always astonishes me how often the one Scots pine will give you the ley. What happens to it when that one dies? Possibly, perhaps, there's room for another one then, and there's a natural seeding of another generation. Certainly in the case of big clumps, this explains how they could go on for thousands of years, though each individual tree would not. In the case of the individual one, I just don't know. Next piece, out of Mark Beach up on the hilltop. The fact that it's called Mark Beach is rather interesting to me. I think they take it for granted that Mark means Scots pine. So they have to emphasise that this is Scots pine and beech. Next. That is close up again. There's Northern Survey triangulation point on the corner, the old and the new side by side.
Setting out for the cave near Hill Hoath, which Tony surmised may have been a Mithraic temple. As anyone who knows me will know, if there's a choice of two paths, I invariably take the wrong one. So here we are, setting off in the wrong direction. We did, however, find this hollow tree, which seemed to have a benevolent atmosphere. And we also saw this beautiful rainbow. On the right track at last, the path goes through a rocky gorge. Here a hollow seems to have been carved out of the rock. There were tool marks in the gorge which seemed very similar to the ones we found in the cave. A narrow, difficult track ran along the edge of this field. A more recently built cave. And finally the cave itself, with the rock above it which Tony Wedd called Bull Rock because of its form of a crouching bull. Inside the cave, the intricate working of the roof can be seen. One of the side arms of the cruciform structure. Towards the entrance. Burn marks on the wall seem to indicate the position of torches for lighting. Looking towards the point where we imagine the altar would have been. In the entrance passage, this cleft went deep into the rock. This stone on the hilltop above the cave was directly over the altar point. Looking down from the stone towards Bull Rock and the cave entrance. One of Tony Wedd's pine clumps at Chiddingstone Hoath, situated above another quite spectacular gorge. It's on a line to the Sevenoaks bypass clump. Another UFO was seen here. Hoath means rock, and we see that the pub has taken this name. The very wide lay we followed on the Pitch Hill project passes through a bridge near the Sevenoaks bypass clump.
I can feel it starting to come.
Yes.
I can feel it.
The rod's moving, yes, carry on. Yes, you carry on driving, we watch the rod.
Okay. We're approaching the bridge.
Yes, the rod is moving slowly. Now it's moving over, moving.
And now I can feel it. That's where I felt it before.
It's not moved any further. There it is, now it's almost moved back now. You're over it rather quickly, over the peak. Back now.
Right, and I'm going to pull in here because there's a car behind me. I'm going to get a bit of a fright.
This road is called Cold Arbour Road.
Excellent!